today I want to talk about a new knife that I recently received, the River Shining Mountain Bowie, or as connoisseurs would say, a Bowie. And yeah, so it's kind of a new knife for my Bowie knife collection. The story with this one is that I wanted one of these for a couple of years, and then the prices raised and I kind of forgot about it, and I kind of didn't had it on the back of my mind anymore. And recently I had a chance to buy one on the secondary market in brand new condition, perfect condition actually, and yeah, for a really good price where I couldn't say no. Everybody's trying to sell their stuff right now, so it's actually a good time to buy stuff, although I myself also sell a lot of knives currently because it's just the knives are, the times are crazy and knives are way too expensive, and yeah. But this one I bought, one of the few knives that I bought recently. The Shining Mountain Bowie is a very big and hefty River knife. River kind of has been getting sort of not as much talked about anymore. I still think they make high quality products. I have a couple of things to say about them. I only have 3 River knives in total with this one now, and the other ones are kind of older River knives that are, I don't even think, in production anymore. We're gonna look at them in a second. First, you get a River leather sheath, which is super nice. It's like a 5mm thick, actually 3 5mm thick slabs of leather, nicely stitched on the outside. This one is brand new, so it hasn't been waxed yet. I'm not sure if I'm gonna do that. And yeah, I think it looks super cool in this package. It's a high quality leather sheath. I always have liked River leather sheaths. I use them for some of my other knives as well because I think they just have some of the best leather in terms of production knives. And get off there, little ant. And it comes with this frog right here that you can slide onto here like so, and then you can carry it on your belt, and then you get this leather thingy here that you can probably tie this down if you need to, which is not really necessary because the retention is pretty good on this sheath, so it's not gonna fall out. And I take this off because it's a much slimmer package therefore, and I'm not carrying a big knife like that on my belt anyway, so I slide it into the backpack like so, and I leave this one at home. But it's a nice feature, and I guess with this piece you can also slide it underneath your belt and then hold it like so. I think this was how Bowie knives were originally carried most of the time. But yeah, solid leather sheath, really like it. This whole video is kind of more of a first impressions video. I did some very light chopping with this guy, mainly soft branches. I cut a couple of bottles as well to see how the performance is of the blade. And I think the bottle cutting belt went really well as long as your edges aligned. This knife is very hefty and very heavy. You can see it's a big blade. How big is it actually? I don't even know. We're gonna find out together, I guess. So it's here's my Cold Steel Trailmaster, which is also a convex blade, and it's slightly bigger than that. And the Trailmaster is 24 centimeters, so this is like a 26 centimeter blade, I guess. Here's a size comparison. It's a big blade. It's a big old Bowie. Gotta love it. The whole shape of the knife is kind of widening towards the front here, so it's a very wide blade also. Not just a long blade, but also a wide blade. And then you have like what appears to be like I think it's like a 5mm thick spine, maybe even 5.5mm. I don't even know. Thick blade, and then you can see you have a thick tip as well. It's kind of pointy at the end, but there's a lot of material in this section still. You can see it has a nice wedge, low grind also, so there is a lot of material here over the grind, which leads to a weight of 722 grams, which is 1 pound and 6 ounces. So yeah, because this knife is so long, so wide, and so has such a low convex grind here, it's a very hefty knife. And yeah, to be honest, I don't know if this would be like a good companion knife for the wilderness, because you bring so much weight. You bring also a lot of heft, which leads to a lot of chopping power. But at the same time, it's kind of so heavy that it's also a little bit tiring for your arm. So you have to get used to this one. I'm definitely not used to heavy knives like this anymore. I've been carrying a lot of Bowie knives in my life, in the outdoors, and usually they are lighter, they are a little bit nimbler, and at least the ones that I use. And yeah, so now I'm getting a phone call. That's great. So where was I? Yeah, the knife is hefty and heavy, and the question is, would you be willing to carry such a heavy knife in the outdoors if you're doing any kind of outdoor activity, whether that be hunting or camping or hiking? It's kind of a lot of weight. You bring a lot of knife, but you can also bring a lot of knife with a lot less weight. And the next question is, would you be using a knife like this that's kind of really expensive now? I think if you buy one new, this is pushing the 400 to 500 euro mark now, which is kind of crazy actually for what it is. I mean, it's a well-made knife, don't get me wrong. It's especially the handle, I think, has a lot of work put into it. This is desert ironwood, which looks super nice, kind of darkish, and it's probably also getting darker. And it's a very nice finished handle. You have those, I guess what are G10 or micarta inlays here, and those must be aluminum bolsters in the guard. You can see that the guard is longer on the bottom than on the top, so you can choke up and get your thumb over the top guard a little bit easier, which is a nice feature. It also comes, I think, with only the bottom guard, so looking like this. And yeah, this one is the double guard. And then you have this back piece right here, also looks nicely finished, nicely polished. Kind of a cheap little nut on the end here. It looks like straight out of the hardware store, to be honest, but that could be a little bit nicer. But yeah, it's okay. It is what it is. It works well. The rest of the handle is finished super nicely. It kind of is really wide in the back. I think you get a good grip on here. You don't have the typical, curvature back here that you would find in chopping knives, but I think it still works really, really well. You can even use that pommel back here as sort of a sub-hilt, and yeah, I think it works well for chopping. The handle is not bad. It's really smooth, so this is like very nicely finished to a very high grit. It has the right amount of smoothness and not being slippery at the same time. So it's a good, well-finished handle. I do like it quite a bit. The blade is not what I would say you would expect from a $500 or 500 euro knife. I'm not sure if they cost the same in the United States as well, but here in Europe these are very expensive right now. There are a lot of grind marks in the steel. The grind, like I said, is really low. It's kind of it's getting thin behind the edge. The knife is super slicey, and I lost my spec sheet again. It came out of the box razor sharp, super thin behind the edge actually here, but it gets thick quickly. That's kind of what Buck River usually does. They have a really thin convex edge that has like a very slight secondary bevel, and then they get kind of thick and yeah, a convex grind. Convex grinds are more difficult to sharpen for most people. I would recommend them stropping them a lot, which is something you should probably do with any kind of grind. The steel is A2. A2 is like a low alloy tool steel. I would say it's a non-stainless, obviously. So in terms of rust performance or rust resistance, I think it's very similar to O1 steel. The Hudson Bay trading knife. This was my first Buck River knife. I bought this like almost 10 years ago, I think. This is also an A2 steel and micarta handles. in this case. Really like this knife. It has been with me on a lot of trips. I have recently depatinaed it a little bit with flitz polish, so it's kind of nice and shiny and a little bit bluish, but A2 always gets kind of a little bit bluish. And yeah, on one trip it got really soaking wet, and this immediately was completely red. So A2 is a steel that will develop rust relatively quickly, I would say, but it also has that, you know, carbon steel features. It gets a really nice sharpness, it takes the sharpness easily and quickly, and it's supposed to be tough. Now, in terms of toughness on Buck Rivers A2, I had a couple of issues in the past. This knife, I had some chips in the edge, even though this has never really batoned anything. It's mainly a belt knife, you know, it's a thinner blade stock, it's mainly a cutting tool. Never chopped anything unless like soft branches, and it chipped on me while cutting something, and I still don't know why that happened. Sadly, I don't have any pictures of the chipping of this knife. I do have some pictures of the chipping. There goes another sheath of this knife right here. This is the Canadian Camp 2, also an older Buck River design, no longer in production, and I think it's no longer in production. Correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know. But yeah, this one you can see has a slight recurve on here, and the reason for that is that I have used this as a chopping tool quite extensively. I mean, this is like an 8mm fixed spine, so it's a heavy, kind of hard use tool anyways, but this had some severe chipping issues in the past, and I still don't know why that happened. Maybe I was using it too hard, but like I said, I also had the same thing on my Hudson Bay trading knife. Both of these knives are A2 steel, yeah, so there is that concern that Buck Rivers A2 might be a little bit brittler. I don't know why that is. Maybe they are grinding their edges too thin. Maybe the hardness is too high. I wouldn't say they are badly heat treated, because if they were badly heat treated, they wouldn't keep an edge. Most knives that have a bad heat treatment on them, they're not able to hold an edge, keep an edge, and they're hard to resharpen. And this is not true for either one of them. So I think the edge is just maybe a little bit too thin, or was too thin, and maybe a little bit too hard, and that's probably the reason. Or there could have been some user error, which happens sometimes. You know, sometimes you are out in the wild and you are using your knives a little bit too much, which, you know, it happens. You know, even with a couple of chips in the edge, you can still keep going and do a lot of stuff. The Canadian Camp is even though it's 8mm thick, it's a lot lighter than the Shining Mountain Bowie. It's also a lot smaller in the profile, but yeah, this one would be more my choice if I would go outdoors and actually do a lot of chopping tasks. I'm not doing it anymore with this one because of the chipping issues in the past. So most of the time, if I use a convex chopper, I use my Trailmaster and Senmai from Cold Steel. This is a perfect knife. It's also 8mm thick spine, I think. Super thick blade, very light and nimble. The Trailmaster is kind of a good combination between a chopper and a fighter, you know what I mean? It's very fast in hand. And this is definitely not true for the Shining Mountain Bowie. Kind of a slow and heavy hitter. It feels like slow motion if you chop with this, because you can see it coming, because it's so wide. And yeah, like I said, it's a little bit tiring for the hand, and I wish the grind was a little bit higher. As a collection piece, I think it's a really nicely looking, very well designed Bowie knife. Good wall hanger, good knife to add to a Bowie knife collection, but especially with the sheath, I really do like the sheath. I think it's just a good looking overall package. But as a user, I personally will only use it for light vegetation, you know, soft branches and stuff. I'm not gonna use it for harder wood, even though you could probably, because the blade is so thick and the grind is so low. But yeah, it's a cool knife. It's just not the perfect user. Yeah, if you're just looking for a beater knife, this is probably not it. If you're looking for a high-end convex grind outdoorsy knife, Sanmai Free from Cold Steel, excellent knife with the Trailmaster here. I've been around the world with the Trailmaster, have traveled to Northern America in very cold conditions, and this knife is perfect for that because the edge is super tough, and I like the thinness behind the edge. It's very sharp. It gets very sharp. It's very slicey at the same time. It's very fast in hand, and it's a good user, but it's also not brittle on the steel. And that's yeah, that's kind of my 2 cents here. And it's also stainless, which is even crazier that they managed to get a stainless that tough. But yeah, that's it on the Shining Mountain Bowie. As a first impressions video, I'm probably gonna do an update in a couple of years, so if you're still around on this channel in a couple of years, check back and maybe I have another video on this one. Or maybe you will see it in another Bowie knife collection video also, somewhere down the line. Yeah, thank you guys for watching. I guess this channel is not monetized anymore. I used to monetize it for a very short period, because I reached 1,000 subscribers, but it turns out with 1,000 subscribers you basically make like $3 a month or something like that. So I immediately turned it down. Never got my $3 also, which is kind of shitty from YouTube. Hey, where's my money? You owe me $3. And yeah, so everything you see on this channel is not sent to me I buy everything myself or trade. And yeah, so it's kind of a non-profit channel. It's mainly to get my poison out of my head. You know, I want to talk about knives, and that's it. So thank you for watching, I guess. That's it. Maybe we see each other in another video. Thank you, people, and have a nice day. Goodbye.